Hello everyone, our project is about the chlorination process in a water purification plant. Let's start with the first step of the DMAIC methodology, which is to define. So we will analyze the company background. The company is responsible for the production of drinking water from a surface water source, and the treatment has coagulation, flocculation, filtration, chlorination, and pH adjustment process. The plant is located in Guayaquil, and its main customers are water consumers, quality, warehouse, and budget control area. I will present you to the project team. We have as a project advisor PhD Clever Barsi, the project analyst Sonia Argudo, Samantha Petroche, and Bryan del Pezo. And we also have the warehouse, quality, and budget managers. For identifying the needs of the customers, the leaders of these areas related to the chlorination process were interviewed, and with this, we identify these findings. Basically, these findings are summarized in that budget control leader told us that there was not complaints of the monthly budget for chlorine. The leader in the quality area has evidence an increase in the number of the forms to be processed for not complaints with specifications. And the last leader told us that there has been a higher consumption of kilograms of chlorine than expected monthly. So with this interview, we can define the CTQs. We have that the consumer wants is that the consumption of residual chlorine per month decrease and be less than 925 kilograms. The number of forms for not complaints with the specification be less than 45. And finally, the percentage of not complaints with the chlorine budget be less than 3%.
Continues with the content, we have the problem statement. We need to know what is the most important parameters for the product state of a specification. We can see the chlorine is the most important in this Pareto diagram because have the 58%. That is the reason is the study is focused in the residual chlorine. We can see in the time series the behavior of the data to April 2019 to August 2020. In blue, we can see the percent of out of specification, and the orange, we can see the average objective. With this, we can plan the 4W1H to know the who, the what, the when, the where, and how I know that for define the problem. With this, the problem is the size to April 2019, the Guayaquil water purification plant has increased in percent of the product of a specification average in residual chlorine to 6% in the R2 line of the chlorine process. Register an increase of the 4% because the company standard is the 2% is the limit, and we can see this in the time series. After of that, we can have the G definition. The G definition is the variable. In this case, is the percent of product out of a specification, and this is the equation to use it.
Then we have SIPO. SIPO, we have suppliers, inputs, process, outputs, customer. In the process, we have mix N1 injection and mix N2. In this project, we will focus on injection because within it, we have a chlorination process. Constraints. Constraints is time of development. Some improvements take longer than expected. It is a long-term implement process. General objective, gap, average 6%, objective 2%, gap 4%. We have three states, neutral, optimistic, and pessimistic. Gap in all the states is 4%. Percentage reduction gap, in the neutral state, we have 15%, in the optimistic, 18%, and pessimistic, we have 20%. Objective, 4% in the neutral, 3% in the optimistic, and 5% in the pessimistic. General objective decrease the percentage of product out of specification average in residual chlorine from 6% to 4% within a period of 4 months through the implementation of improvements. We have 3 specific objectives. First, reduce the consumption of residual chlorine. 2, reduce or forms the 2 non-compliance with specification. And the last, reduce percent of monthly residual chlorine budget.
Economic justification. I mentioned in the gap, the neutral scenario is taken. This will be the most likely result because it is possible to reduce the percentage of product out of specification average residual chlorine from 6 to 4% and help the company to avoid reprocessing and increase its profit. For the top and bottom line metrics part, we must financially stay within the maximum limit of 3% of residual chlorine, the budget, and reduce work due to excess residual chlorine. In the social, reduce workload for the quality area by easing form while staying within the allowed objective of 45. In the environmental, reduction of residual chlorine safeguarding animal and the human life, and therefore the environment, since it is a toxic substance. For plan, we take as advanced delivery deadlines as the end of each stage, and their activity are in sequence. For the project charter, the data from previous steps of defined stage are taken in the order to efficiently carry out of this project. If it was necessary to have gone through the following course, for example, method engineering, quality engineering, and specialty simulation. And finally, the next stage will be measure. And that's all. Thanks for attention.